Hello, everybody. Welcome to Grace Pathway Abroad. We are here with yet another video on IELTS essay writing, and let's get started and dive deep into it. So the very first thing we are going to understand is the overview of the writing module. Now, the very first pointer over here says time duration. That means how much time do you get to finish the writing module? Well, you get 1 hour in which you have got 2 tasks to finish. Now, task 1 can either be a report or a letter. And that depends whether you are an academic version aspirant or a general version aspirant. If you have booked the general version IELTS, then it's going to be letter writing for you. But if you have booked the academic IELTS, then it's going to be report writing for you. Task 2 is going to be essay writing, which is what we are diving deep into today. Now, because essay writing is the main agenda of today's video, so we'll now be discussing only essay writing, no report and no letter. Now, the word limit. The next pointer says word limit. Well, the minimum word limit for your IELTS essay is 250, but you do not get a decent score if you are writing exactly 250 words. So you need to write little more than that. Somewhere around 260 to 280 words will be the ideal limit for you. Task 2 weightage. That means how important task 2 is as compared to task 1 in order to get the required band score. Well, the weightage of task 2 is 66%. It's actually the double of task 1, which is report or letter. So definitely it contains more weightage, and that is why it is more important. And that's exactly the reason why you should finish the essay writing first on the day of exam and the task 1 later on. Now, there are certain types of IELTS essays which you will have to master for the day of exam. And then under those types, also there might be various possibilities. Some major types are, for example, we have discussion essay. Then you would need to master opinion essay. You may get advantage, disadvantage essay on the day of exam. You may get a problem solution essay as well. And then there is this direct question essay, which you will have to master. So these are some major types which you will have to master in order to ace the IELTS writing module. Now, marking criteria is something which is of immense importance. You need to understand what exactly examiners want to see in your writing. So in your essays, you will be marked on 4 parameters. Number 1 is task response. Number 2 is coherence and cohesion. Number 3 is lexical resource. And number 4 is grammatical range and accuracy. Now, what exactly is task response? Well, you get a high score on task response criteria only if you have relevant ideas in your essays. And those ideas need to be well developed, well explained. Only then you get a high score. Plus, of course, there has to be a minimum 260 words as well. Coherence and cohesion means logical flow of information. It should not appear as if you are abruptly jumping from one idea to another. There should be well connectivity between your sentences. So in simple terms, for that connectivity, for that logical flow, please follow the structure that we are teaching you in this video. Apart from that, you need to ensure usage of linking devices, linkers, and you need to use them aesthetically wherever they are required. Your linkers are words like although, therefore, however. There's a whole list of these linkers. But the problem is that these linkers usually are used by students in a very robotic manner. Please use them flexibly only wherever they are required. Don't try to force them in every single sentence, even if they are not required. The third criteria is lexical resource. In simple terms, it is nothing but vocabulary. So you need to be very careful of the spellings. You need to be careful of certain things, as in avoiding the repetition of words way too often. And also the contractions are not allowed. For example, if you want to write do not, you will have to write do not like this with space. It's not one single word. But the contracted form of do not like this is not allowed. Similarly, you just cannot write any informal words like etc, kids, needy, all that stuff is not allowed. The fourth criteria is grammatical range and accuracy. So of course, this is a language test. Your grammar is going to be tested. They will see they as in the examiners, they will see whether you have written accurate sentences or not. Apart from accuracy, they will also see the range, grammatical range. Now, your grammatical range means variety of sentences. They will see whether you have included compound sentences in your writing, whether you have complex sentences, whether there are simple sentences as well, or passive structures. There are other kind of structures also, but these are bare minimum that you can showcase in your writing in order to reach till 7 bands. Let's move ahead and get into the real thing. Yes, so this is the question we are diving deep into today. It says, the use of social media is replacing face-to-face interaction among many people in society. Do you think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? Very interesting. Please follow these exact steps before writing an essay if you want a high band score on the day of exam. Step number 1 is analyze the prompt. You need to analyze the prompt intricately. You need to understand what is the actual context of the prompt, what is the specific topic, what is the intricate topic of that prompt. Now, if you think that it is about social media, and then they are asking you the advantages and disadvantages of social media alone, you are goofing up. It is about social media, yes, but the intricate topic here is social media replacing face-to-face interaction. So all your ideas need to be connected with social media replacing face-to-face interaction. If you miss out on face-to-face interaction, then your ideas won't be relevant and the task response score will go down. So the main context here is social media replacing face-to-face interaction. The second question over here is, what type of IELTS essay do you think this is? What do you think? Which type do you think this is? Very clearly, they are asking for advantages and disadvantages. And that is why this is our advantages and disadvantages essay. But look at question number 3, which is the most important question here. Do you need to give your opinion, or is it only asking about the advantages and disadvantages? Let's read this question once again. It says, do you think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? So they are clearly asking you to take a stand. They are clearly asking you that, what do you think? Which side, according to you, is more dominating? Is it the positive side or the negative side? That means this is that version of advantage, disadvantage, wherein other than pros and cons, you also need to take a stand. And now, before taking a stand, let's brainstorm ideas, because we need to see whether we have more advantages or more disadvantages in our mind. And accordingly, we will take a stand. So if social media is replacing face-to-face conversations or interactions, what can be some advantages? Well, I believe the advantages can be better exposure, because people are not relying on only interacting with each other physically. The exposure has increased manifold. They are able to interact with others who are sitting in some other country. So as a result, exposure has increased a lot. I also believe that people are able to educate themselves, education. Because, we have platforms like YouTube, and even if not YouTube, people are able to connect with those who share similar interests with them on platforms like Facebook and learn a lot of things. I also feel that it sort of gives us a sense of security, because we know that we are always connected with the outer world, no matter where we are. If we are alone somewhere, we know that we are connected with our family, friends, near and dear ones. Or if we are in our country as well, we know that we are connected internationally with other people. So that is a sense of security. 3 ideas are coming to my mind right now. Moving to disadvantages, I believe that people are forming a lot of superficial relationships thanks to these kind of social media platforms. Superficial relationships as in those kind of relationships which do not have a meaningful depth in them. It also creates a lot of misunderstandings, in my opinion, because many times we are just not able to judge the real emotion of the person who is texting us. Probably that person is angry or upset about something, and we are not able to understand the real emotion. And when we fail to respond according to their expectations, then the misunderstandings arise. That is another disadvantage which is coming to my mind. So if you see, I have more advantages here rather than disadvantages. That means what should be my opinion? My opinion should be that advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Advantages are more dominating. Advantages are more substantial than the disadvantages, right? Now that we have brainstormed ideas, we have come to realize our opinion, let's move ahead and see the structure. Now, in this kind of essay, where other than advantages and disadvantages, they are also asking you your opinion, it's better to form 3 body paragraphs. So your paragraph number 1 is going to be introduction. Paragraph number 2, body para 1. Paragraph number 3, body para 2. Paragraph number 4, body paragraph 3. And paragraph number 5 is a conclusion. Like I said, in this kind of question, wherein your advantages, you are being asked advantages and disadvantages along with an opinion, then it's better to form 3 body paragraphs. Let's understand what we are going to do with these body paragraphs, or what exactly we are going to write. Well, in the introduction, the very first step is going to be the paraphrase statement. Paraphrasing means you will rewrite the information given in the prompt in such a way that meaning remains the same but language changes. What information? This information which says that the use of social media is reducing face-to-face interaction in society. So this is something you will rewrite, but in your own words. And then step number 2 is the thesis statement. Now, in thesis, you are supposed to answer whatever the question is asking from you. Now, here the question is asking your opinion. So you definitely need to state your opinion very, very clearly. Other than opinion, it's also asking for advantages and disadvantages. So what you can do is, other than giving your opinion, you can reveal one idea, 1 or 2 maximum, one advantage as well as one disadvantage would suffice. But make sure you are not explaining these ideas. No explanation goes into them. Now let's understand, once this is done, that is it. You will not write anything else in the introduction. If you do, that will be taken as a bulky introduction paragraph. You will end up writing fluff, which will go against you. Once this much is done, we will move to our body paragraphs. Now, what was our opinion? We were in the favor of advantages. So where will the advantages go? Now, the thing here to understand is, in this type of essay, whatever you are in favor of, in this case, we are in favor of advantages. So these advantages are going closer to the conclusion. That means in body paragraph 2 as well as in body paragraph 3. The disadvantages we cannot ignore, because we are not favoring disadvantages does not mean that we will not write disadvantages in our essay. In this essay, we need to write disadvantages. So here we will, body paragraph 1 is going to be about opposite side, that is disadvantages. Now the ratio of your ideas, and why 3 paragraphs? Well, we have made 3 paragraphs in this essay because we want to justify our opinion that yes, there are actually more advantages. That is why we are making 2 paragraphs. We are having 2 paragraphs on advantage side. That is the whole logic behind having 2 paragraphs on advantage side. Now the body paragraph 1 is going to be on disadvantages. Just understand one thing here. The question says, do you think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? So they are asking about plural ideas. If you write only one advantage and one disadvantage, you will not get a high score, because they are saying advantages and disadvantages. We need to write plural idea paragraphs. So we are going to write 2 disadvantages here, 2 advantages here, and 1 extra advantage here. And then in the conclusion, we will restate our opinion, which is incredibly vital to restate our opinion. Plus, we will write a summary of our ideas, summary of probably the strongest advantage and strongest disadvantage. That would be our conclusion. Now, what is the sentence by sentence structure of body paragraphs? Well, the very first sentence of your body paragraph, it is going to be topic sentence. Topic sentence means you need to write main idea number one. What was our main idea number one? What was our disadvantage number one? It was about relationships, superficial relationships. Once you have written a sentence on this particular idea, then the second sentence would be explanation that why do you think superficial relationships exist on social media platform. Explanation is very important. The third sentence here would be your idea number two. Now, what was our disadvantage number two? Well, it was about misunderstandings. Once you have written this in the form of a complete sentence, then the next sentence would be just one sentence of explanation that why do misunderstandings arise if we are digitally connecting with somebody. So one sentence explanation would be sufficient as long as it's a well-developed, full-fledged sentence. And then the final sentence can be an example, which needs to be general. You cannot give a personal example. You just can't say that, okay, I recently had a misunderstanding with a friend of mine because of blah, blah, blah. No, you can't. You need to give general examples that many people sometimes they're not able to understand the real emotion. So instead of saying I, we will change it to many people in the example sentence. Now the same structure will be followed in body paragraph 2. It's just that this time we will mention the advantages. And the same structure will be followed in body para 3 as well. This time a single advantage will be explained, not a double idea. So if you notice how many ideas we are going to write in this essay, a total of 5 ideas. That is what is going to make it a high band score essay. Let's get started and see how we have written the introduction paragraph. All right, let's read the paragraph first. It says, in the current digital era, in-person communication has significantly reduced due to the presence of various social media platforms. Even though there are concerns about its effects on conventional face-to-face interactions, in my opinion, the benefits like improved communication are more substantial than the drawbacks. Let's understand what we have done here to write this kind of intro paragraph. The very first sentence is the same thing that the question is also saying, but we have just changed the language. The information is same. We have also shuffled the word order as well as used some synonyms to write the paraphrase statement. Now, the question says face-to-face interaction, but what we are saying in-person communication. In-person communication means physically when you connect with somebody and just talk to them. Then the question says social media is replacing. We are saying in-person communication has significantly reduced due to the presence of various social media platforms. If you notice in the question, social media is coming first and face-to-face interaction is coming later. Whereas here we have shuffled this order. Here we are talking about in-person communication in the beginning of the sentence, and social media has gone towards the ending of the sentence. So this is a great strategy which you can also use to paraphrase your language. And then in the thesis statement, we are very clearly giving our opinion. What do you think we are favoring? Look here. Even though is a great advanced linker, even though there are concerns about its effects on conventional face-to-face interactions, in my opinion, the benefits like improved communication, this is our benefit number one that we are stating here, that it has improved communication. So these benefits are more substantial than the drawbacks. More substantial than the drawbacks is a clear stand that we are saying advantages are more dominating. Now, you also need to understand, like I told you on the previous slide, that because we are favoring advantages, body paragraph 1 will be about what? Advantages or disadvantages? Well, it's going to be about the opposite side, that is disadvantages. So the two ideas in advantage paragraph were misunderstandings and superficial relationships. Let's see how we are developing these two ideas in a full-fledged body paragraph 1. And here you go. Let's read it out first. So it says, on the one hand, there could be some negative aspects. So a synonym of disadvantage that we are using is negative aspects. On the one hand, there could be some negative aspects of the fact that social media has been replacing face-to-face interactions. Firstly, it may result in superficial relationships, especially if they have been initiated on a virtual platform. Such friendships usually lack a meaningful connection as well as physical presence, even in times of need, proving to be of no significance. Secondly, there is a strong chance of misunderstandings in such interactions. This is because many times an individual is not able to judge the real emotion behind a written message. For instance, it has often been observed that in many cases, people find it hard to judge whether the person they are communicating with is angry, sad, or disappointed about something, and therefore fail to respond accordingly. This is the exact 5-sentence structure I have used here. But look at the very first sentence. What I'm doing in the very first sentence is I am setting the context for the examiner that this whole paragraph is on drawbacks, is on disadvantages. So the first sentence is not my main idea. In first sentence, I'm saying there could be negative aspect. The second thing to notice here is I'm saying there could be some negative aspects. I'm not saying there are some negative aspects. Why? Because I am not in the favor of disadvantages. So I am distancing myself from disadvantage side by using this modal verb could be. There could be. There aren't. No, we are not saying that. There could be. So I am distancing myself from the opposite side because that's not what I actually believe. My actual belief is with advantages. That is the second thing to notice here. Once we have set the context for the examiner, then comes our topic sentence, that is idea number 1, where we are talking about superficial relationships. What do you mean by superficial? Which does not have a good depth. That is superficial. And why they are superficial? Here itself, I'm giving one reason, especially if they have been initiated on a virtual platform. So if you know somebody already, if there is someone who is a near and dear one to you and you are connecting with that person on a virtual platform, fine. But if you are initiating a friendship on a social media platform, the chances are that it will be superficial. And then in the next sentence, I am developing this idea. I'm explaining this idea of superficial relationships. I'm saying such friendships usually lack a meaningful connection as well as physical presence, even in times of need. That means even when you need people around you, when you are facing difficulties in life, these people who are your online friends, they are not there. As a result, they are of little to no significance. That's our idea number 1 with explanation. Idea number 2, secondly, look at these transition linkers, firstly, secondly, to make it very clear for the examiner that this is our second idea. Secondly, there is a strong chance of misunderstanding. Second idea, misunderstanding in such interactions. Why? I'm giving a reason now in my explanation. This is because many times an individual is not able to judge the real emotion behind a written message. So we have given a reason to explain our idea. And then we are giving one example, and I'm sure it has happened with most of us. And saying, for instance, it has often been observed that in many cases, people find it hard to judge whether the person they are communicating with is angry, sad, or disappointed about something, and therefore fail to respond according to their expectations, which in turn creates misunderstandings. So that's our body paragraph 1 on 2 disadvantages, which is well developed. Even though we are not favoring disadvantages, this is a decent length. Let's move to body paragraph 2 now and see what 2 advantages we are talking about in body para 2. And here you go. Let's read it out first. So it says, on the other hand, there are more positive aspects of connecting virtually. Since it enables individuals to connect with others all across the globe, it results in a vast amount of exposure. One becomes aware of what is happening outside their domicile country in their field, which in turn fosters growth. On platforms like LinkedIn, to illustrate, people are able to grow their network and attract vital opportunities. Apart from this, it enables instant communication. All one needs is a smartphone and an internet connection in order to stay connected as well as informed. As a result, people feel secured since they know they can get help if they encounter any trouble owing to the connectivity provided by social media. Now let's understand again what we have done here. As usual, the very first sentence is my context setting statement, wherein I am telling the examiner that this is about advantages, and notice the language. I'm not saying there could be positive aspects, I'm saying there are. So now I am not distancing myself from positives. I'm saying there are. I'm stating it as a fact because this is what I believe in. This is my opinion. So these are small little intricacies that you need to keep in mind. Now, the very first idea, this is my topic sentence, and my first idea is exposure. That this kind of interaction and platforms, they give us exposure. As a result, what happens? People become aware of not only other states in their country, but also what is happening outside their domicile country. Domicile country is your home country. My domicile country is India. So, and then I'm giving an example. I'm saying on platforms like LinkedIn to illustrate. In the last paragraph, we used for instance, or for example. Here we are using this transition linker to illustrate and see where I have used it. I have used it in the middle of the sentence. Why exactly? Because I want to tell you that you can use these linkers flexibly. There is no hard and fast rule that you always have to use them in the beginning of a sentence. Show some flexibility to the examiner by trying to write them sometimes in the beginning, sometimes in the middle, and if possible for you, you can write them in the ending as well. So on platforms like LinkedIn, to illustrate, people are able to grow their network and attract vital opportunities. And then comes my second idea apart from this. Now here I'm not using firstly, secondly, because I've already used them. Here I'm using another transition linker that is apart from this. What is my second idea? It enables instant communication. And then I am explaining it. I'm saying all one needs is a smartphone and an internet connection in order to, this is another linker, in order to stay connected as well as informed. This is another linker. And then as a result, this is also a transition linker. As a result, people feel secured since works as a synonym of because. People feel secured since they know they can get help if they encounter any trouble owing to the connectivity provided by social media. We have quite a few linkers in this sentence. Let's quickly see what linkers we have got. Firstly, we have got as a result, wherein I'm talking about the consequences, that what happens as a result. Second linker over here is since, which is a subordinating conjunction. Third linker over here is if, which is again a subordinating conjunction. And owing to is again a linker, which is a synonym of because. So rather than using because over and over again, I'm using owing to. So we have got quite a few linkers. And if you notice, they are everywhere in the beginning, in the middle. So you need to be careful of this kind of flexibility. Let's move to body paragraph 3 now. And let's see our final idea and final body paragraph. And let's see how we are developing it. And here you go. So this here, over here, we are saying, besides, I believe that it has also been playing a crucial role in educating its users. People with similar interests and hobbies come together to share their learnings and experiences, enlightening one another. For instance, on platforms like Facebook, people interested in anything from yoga and meditation to progressions in technology can stay connected by creating groups, which can be joined by many others, sharing the same domain of interest. Now, in this particular paragraph, we have got one advantage only, which is that people are getting education. And look at the beginning. Because body paragraph 2 was also on advantages and body paragraph 3 is also on advantages. So the linker is besides. And then I'm saying, I believe that. So again, I am adding an opinion phrase over here. You know, this is not something that I am saying. This is something that the band descriptors say, that you need to maintain your position throughout the response. Now, what is your position? Your position is your opinion. But what do the students do? They simply write their opinion once in conclusion, or at the most once in intro and once in conclusion. It will be better for your score if you are writing this opinion phrase once in a body paragraph as well, because that's what is mentioned in band descriptors, where they say that the candidate maintains his or her position throughout the response, not only in intro and conclusion, throughout the response. So that is why I am using one opinion phrase over here also. So besides, I believe that it has also been playing a crucial role. Crucial is a synonym of important. Important role in educating its users. This is my third advantage. First for this paragraph. And how I'm developing it, I'm saying people with similar interests and hobbies come together to share their learnings and experiences, enlightening one another. Enlightening means, again, educating one another. And then I'm writing one example. I'm saying, for instance, on platforms like Facebook, people interested in anything from yoga and meditation to progressions in technology can stay connected by creating groups which can be joined by many others sharing the same domain of interest. We all know that we have such communities on platforms like Facebook where people who have the same interest areas join and just indulge in chatting and discussions with one another. Now let's see how we have written the conclusion paragraph, where we will again state our opinion and summarize at least one advantage and one disadvantage. And here you go. We are saying, to conclude, although communicating digitally on social platforms has some demerits, such as encouraging spurious relationships, in my viewpoint, it offers many more substantial merits, including a sense of security along with exposure. Let's see what we are doing here. To conclude is a transition linker. You can begin your conclusion paragraph using this transition linker. And then comes our subordinating advanced conjunction, which is although. Although communicating digitally on social platforms has some demerits. What demerits? We are mentioning one here, such as encouraging spurious relationships. What are spurious? It's a synonym of superficial. That means those kind of relationships which are just not meaningful. And then we are continuing with the advantages. In my viewpoint, look at this opinion phrase. In my viewpoint, it offers many more substantial merits. What do you mean by substantial? Solid, strong. Strong merits, including a sense of security. That is one merit that we have mentioned here, along with exposure. That is the second advantage that we have mentioned here. So if you see, we have used opinion phrase thrice in this essay. One in the introduction paragraph, second time in the conclusion paragraph, and once in body paragraph 3 as well. Let's show you the entire essay in its entirety on the next slide. Here you go. Let's read it out once. So it says, in the current digital era, in-person communication has significantly reduced due to the presence of various social media platforms. Even though there are concerns about its effects on conventional face-to-face interactions, in my opinion, the benefits like improved communication are more substantial than the drawbacks. And then comes our body paragraph 1 on negatives. We are saying, on the one hand, there could be some negative aspects of social media since it has been replacing face-to-face interactions. And then comes the first idea. Firstly, it may result in superficial relationships, especially if they have been initiated on social media. Such friendships usually lack a meaningful connection as well as physical presence, even in times of need, proving to be of no significance. Secondly, there is a strong chance of misunderstandings in such interactions. Why? This is because many times an individual is not able to judge the real emotion behind a written message. For instance, it has been observed that in many cases, people find it hard to judge whether the person they are communicating with is angry, sad, or disappointed about something, and therefore fail to respond accordingly. Body para 2 on advantages. On the other hand, there are more positive aspects of connecting virtually. Since it enables individuals to connect with others all across the globe, it results in a vast amount of exposure. Vast means huge amount of exposure. One becomes aware of what is happening outside their domicile country in their field, which in turn fosters growth. Fosters means encourages growth. On platforms like LinkedIn, to illustrate, people are able to grow their network and attract vital opportunities. Apart from this, it enables instant communication. All one needs is a smartphone and an internet connection in order to stay connected as well as informed. As a result, people feel secured since they know they can get help if they encounter any trouble owing to the connectivity provided by social media. The third body paragraph, again on an additional advantage. Besides, I believe that it has also been playing a crucial role in educating its users. People with similar interests and hobbies come together to share their learnings and experiences, enlightening one another. For instance, on platforms like Facebook, people interested in anything from yoga and meditation to progressions in technology can stay connected by creating groups which can be joined by many others sharing the same domain of interests. To conclude, although communicating digitally on social platforms has some demerits, such as encouraging spurious relationships, in my viewpoint, it offers many more substantial merits, including a sense of security along with exposure. I will restate here, because we are favoring the benefits, we have written 2 benefits here and 1 here, a total of 3 benefits. Whereas for the opposite side, we have just 2 negatives. You should never write more negatives in this case if you are favoring benefits. Whatever you are in favor of should look more dominating in your essay. Another final thing to understand, rather than writing a list of ideas, write just a few of them, but explain them nicely. Without explanation, the score is just not going to go up. And with that, it's a wrap. If you liked this particular video, if you liked the content, please hit like and subscribe and follow us on our social media handles. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye, everybody.